Welcome to Straight Talk. I am Brian Brodeur, and I am pleased to be joined by Senator Ray Lesniak and Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Right into the first question for you. The upcoming governor's race between Jack Ciattarelli and Phil Murphy. What will be the top 3 issues this coming fall in the race, and who do you see winning? Let's start with you, Senator. What do you think?
Wow, I don't want to predict the race, but I know the numbers, and the numbers are there are more than 1 million Democrats than Republicans registered to vote in the state of New Jersey. Also, Governor Murphy's riding high on his leadership on the pandemic. Governors traditionally, their ratings go high during crisis as long as they take leadership, and he's been on TV almost constantly in the metropolitan area since then. So what will be the issues? What's always been a big issue in New Jersey is high property taxes, with which Jack Ciattarelli certainly has identified as one of his key issues. Crime in the streets, safety, healthcare. They're always important issues for the people of the state of New Jersey. But it would surprise me if Murphy did not win. The numbers are overwhelmingly in his favor.
Assemblyman, top 3 issues and who is going to win?
Well, it's again, I think the senator is correct that executives tend to get good publicity and do well in crisis situations, whether they deserve the credit or not. Just look at what the poll numbers were like for Andy Cuomo for time after time, despite his rank incompetence. I think the senator is correct. I think taxes in general and property taxes in particular will be a high issue. The economy in general, unemployment in particular will be an issue. And I think handling of the COVID crisis. New Jersey was by far the worst state in the country in terms of its handling of the process. Our death rate was, I think, twice what it was in Florida. Our unemployment rates are still astronomically high. And it goes to a larger issue of governmental incompetence, which we have seen from this administration since the start, with hiring questions, the prison questions, the school funding board questions. And I think that the COVID crisis mishandling was part and parcel of the general incompetence that this administration has brought to government.
Following up on this, the incumbent can sometimes have an advantage or sometimes be saddled with problems. What is the issue or issues that we may not see coming? Assemblyman, what's going to be the surprise?
Well, if I knew what the answer was, it wouldn't be a surprise. I like to keep these things in my back pocket until the last possible second.
That's no fun.
Who knows? It's by definition, those things are shocking, and when they pop up at the last minute. I tend to believe that after the last 18 months, it would be very difficult to come up with anything that would shock anybody anymore. I look at I think it's going to be a shall we say, rambunctious campaign. As we've discussed, I think Phil Murphy is nothing if not almost an automaton. He's so good on being on message. His words are always the same. You can predict his answer to every single question, word for word. He is always perfectly scripted. And, I think that'll be it'd be very tough to get him to a situation where he actually debates beyond sound bites.
Senator, what's going to move the needle in the fall?
Yeah, I agree with the Assemblyman. If I knew, I'd hire myself out as a well-paid consultant. That's for sure. It's unpredictable. And I agree with the Assemblyman. If I knew, I'd certainly keep it on the wraps because I'm a Democrat, and obviously I'm supporting the Democratic candidate. I think he's done a good job and will be reelected. So I also again agree with the Assemblyman that it takes a lot to shock people these days. They've seen it all, particularly after 4 years of Donald Trump. So I don't expect any surprises at all.
Well, speaking of things we know and things we might be able to predict, let's talk about legal marijuana. So other states like Colorado, they've had some issues and there's been some ups and downs. Will New Jersey repeat these same problems? Will they see the benefits? Will they learn from the hurdles? Assemblyman, what do you think about legal marijuana and its rollout?
Well, I think the mistake that the administration has made from the start was complicating the obvious. I mean, I had a bill in for many years, which simply would have effectively deleted the word marijuana wherever it appeared in any of the statutes, because, again, I think perhaps the senator and I will agree on this one as well, which is shocking to many people. But the fact is that illegal drugs in general, and marijuana in particular, ruin lives more for being illegal than for being drugs. Many people have lost livelihoods, lost huge amounts of money and time and freedom over marijuana, a weed. Again, I should say, you're talking to the straightest arrow in the world, as if you didn't already know that. I have never smoked a joint, popped a pill, done a line, or anything along those lines, and I can prove it. But the fact of the matter is that if that's what you want to do, God bless. I think that we spent far too much time with details, who's going to get the dispensaries. They just should have simply said, go for it. Let the market take care of it. And if a local town, for example, doesn't want dispensaries, God bless them. Let them not get rid of them. But it should be wide open. And if they want to tax it, I wouldn't have voted for that. But if they want to deal with that, let's just say it's all legal. Get everybody out of get the government out of the marijuana business entirely, and let the cards fall where they may.
Senator, hurdles, legal marijuana rollout.
Sure. Well, first, let me say that I did try marijuana, having grown up in the 60s and being in the Army from 67 to 69, but I didn't like it. I find that a good thing, but I wouldn't mind trying it, by the way, for medical uses. As at my age, we get some aches and pains, and I am told that it is helpful for pain reduction in those cases. I would try edibles. I wouldn't smoke anything. I just wouldn't even try that. But having said that, on a personal level, I disagree with the Assemblyman. No, I don't agree that all drugs should be legal, if that's what you said, Michael. But marijuana is it's been proven to be not addictive. As a matter of fact, during our hearings at the Judiciary Committee, when there was a medical expert was asked by Senator Weinberg, is it addictive? And he said, no, absolutely not. I asked Senator Weinberg if I could make a follow-up question. And I asked the doctor, well, if marijuana may not be addictive, but how about Doritos? Are they addictive? So nobody laughed there either. But if anybody knows, you get munchies with marijuana. I've been told.
There goes the Doritos sponsorship. Thanks.
No,
I'm told actually.
The roof. May go through the roof.
I'm told actually that the Girl Scouts have millions of boxes of unsold.
Well, by the way, that is a good point, though. I do believe it needs to be regulated. There is a concern. I don't know if any of you guys remember Charlie Camel. Was that what it was? There is advertisement that is directed at children. That certainly should not be allowed. And even edibles directed at children, gummy bears and stuff like that, I don't think is a good thing. So I do believe that there is a need for regulation, and I believe towns have the right to zone them out if that's what they want, and that's what's happening across the state. So I think we're moving in a very deliberate way, probably maybe too deliberate, but I think it's important to be safe rather than be sorry.
Well, see, that was my follow-up a little bit, was about the local control or the local administration of legal marijuana. I want to connect that as a follow-up to taxation. And I'll stick with you, Senator. What role or importance is on a state or local level taxation with legal marijuana? And I'll follow up with Assemblyman.
So first things, we have to make sure that we don't tax it too high that you can go down the street in my neighborhood and pick it up on the street corner. So, but I do believe that there is revenue to be found there, but I also believe it should be dedicated. It should be dedicated to certain purposes like education, opioid or narcotic substance use addiction programs. I have my own school, the Raymond Lesniak Experience, Strength and Hope Recovery High School for kids. We just graduated, had our graduation ceremony. Every single one of our students has gone on to either further their education in college or trade school. Well, whereas these kids, if they go back to their normal school, the same people, places, and things that got them in trouble in the first place, they drop out and they don't wind up well. So it's important that we have these programs for addiction, and marijuana proceeds certainly would be a good use for that.
Assemblyman?
Well, it's actually kind of interesting that I find myself somewhat to the left of the senator on other drug issues. And here I find myself in substantial agreement with Bonnie Watson Coleman on the ideas that criminalization or criminal law is not a good fit for this sort of thing. I think the senator made a point just now with respect to the educational benefits or how do you deal with this thing educationally rather than criminally. And I think that's a much better idea. But again, it comes back to the question of you're gonna. I don't think. What was you call it? Charlie Camel.
Charlie Camel was that?
It was Joe Camel.
Joe Camel. That's right.
So Joe Camel and Charlie the Tuna, and and I suppose you might get Bobby the Bud or something along those lines with this. But my thought is that if you advertise marijuana, you're not doing your job. Local bans are going to serve any real purpose because at the end of the day, if Morris Township bans it, Morristown will allow it. There's not going to be any difficulty. And first of all, no one who wants it has ever had a problem finding it anyway. Once it's legal, they're still not going to have a problem finding it.
Well,
but I think again,
follow up on that to the senator's point about taxation pushing it back to the black market. Where do you stand on that? What do you think?
Well, again, it's interesting that the senator would be opposed to some taxes here. I'm impressed at that. But he's right. Anytime we proved that point with cigarettes to an extent, chasing people off to Delaware and Pennsylvania and other places to buy their habit-forming substances. You really don't want to make it such that you have priced the legal material out of the market and make the local dealer down the street a more attractive source of course, at this point, he wouldn't be a drug criminal; he'd be a tax evader, and which is actually kind of interesting. But so I think again, and ultimately, I personally believe that the less regulation we have, virtually in anything, the better off we'll be. And I think this is probably one of the circumstances.
Well, two emerging issues: the election coming this fall, and of course, legal marijuana front and center, important to New Jersey. Thank you both for weighing in. And before I let you go, do you want to predict an over-under for the election, for the gubernatorial election? Is it too early to give me some numbers, Senator?
No, it's not too early. Murphy by double digits.
Assemblyman?
That's not. It's again, one of the things about being a Republican in this state is understanding your limitations. And there is an advantage a huge advantage to Democrats in terms of their registration numbers. So I don't think it's going to be that high because I think ultimately when there are fewer people out there cheerleading for what's going on and more people criticizing what's going on, I think that the numbers for Governor Murphy will come down. But I think ultimately you got to be a realist. It's always his race to lose.
Senator Ray Lesniak and Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on Straight Talk. See you next time.
Thank you.